Hello, everyone. Jason Hagholm here, and as always, I'm joined with my broadcast partner, the gentleman of mixed martial arts, the gentleman Josh Hill. And Josh and I, we're back for a special edition. Obviously, doing this on a Sunday night is kind of out of the ordinary, but it's a weird week coming up with a holiday on a Thursday in Canada, and then the States getting a holiday, and just trying to fit the times in. This is really the best time that worked out for Josh and I to do the show. So happy to be with you, Josh, and getting ready for, I guess, a long weekend coming up here with Canada Day on a Thursday is always just weird.
Yeah. Is there a holiday is it on the Thursday or is it a Friday?
So it's on the Thursday. I mean, technically, most people are taking the Friday off anyway, making it a long weekend, but some of us are unlucky and have to still go into work on a Friday. But
goddamn work, eh?
The worst, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so obviously it's going to be an interesting, weird week with that, and not much in MMA happening. Some regional shows. CFFC has a show, LFA, Titan as well, and there is a show on Canada Day from Paris, France, with Alex Morgan in the main event. So,
oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
For the second MMA Grand Prix show, but I don't know how many people get a chance in Canada to check that out live with Canada Day commitments. Do you have any big plans for Canada Day, Josh?
Nothing, to be honest. Not really. No. No, nothing. No, my daughter's birthday is the following weekend, so I think we're having like a big family party for that. So, yeah, man, I don't think we're doing much really. I don't know. I'll probably just. I'll buy some fireworks, do some stuff for the kids at home, but I don't have anything big planned now.
Nah, I mean, for me, Canada Day is just really a nice day off. I know I'm getting away, going to actually head up Toronto for the first time since the pandemic. So that's my big plan to get away. But your daughter's birthday, how old is she now? Or going to be?
Going to be 3.
3 years old. Time flies, eh?
No, man. Feels like I just had her. But yeah, crazy. 3 years old.
Now the fun starts, Josh, with her.
Oh, it's already started. She's at a fun age right now. It's actually it's awesome. I love it if she just stayed like this.
Unfortunately, we all grow up and become this and have opinions on things and whatnot. But
become assholes.
Yeah. Just become jaded about life, as everyone does. But we did have a pretty busy week in MMA, especially that Friday night with PFL and Bellator going head to head. But let's kick off with the Saturday afternoon UFC card, a very early start time of 1 p.m., which was headlined in the main event by Ciryl Gane and Alexander Volkov. We didn't really get a chance to talk about the fight, Josh, but I thought this was one of the better heavyweight fights you could book, especially for a long-term booking for who's going to probably be a true title contender coming out of it. And I thought, while the fight was close and some judges had it 3-2 for Gane, I thought this was just a masterclass performance by Ciryl Gane. Was able to, use his strikes from the outside, and when he wanted to get aggressive, he would, and hurt Volkov a couple of times in the fight, and just really didn't allow Volkov to use his distance or anything that makes him a successful heavyweight fighter.
Yeah, it's crazy you say like he could work from the outside, but Volkov's like 6'8" or whatever he is, so that's kind of rare to see that happen. But yeah, it was. It wasn't like a one-sided beating, but it was just a guy that kind of just controlled the fight for the 5 rounds and just kind of did a little bit more, each round, to get the win. But it looked good. I've been saying for this guy for years since the TKO days. I'm like, this guy's going to be something to deal with because you don't really see guys like that big. And that powerful move like that, right? And not only just move and be athletic, but like have the technical skills to back it up. So, yeah, man, this guy's on the path to, to compete for that belt. So that's a huge win for him.
I mean, it's the biggest test he's had with a guy that's had the amount of fights that Volkov has had and the success he's had, like a former Bellator heavyweight champion, former M1 champion, and kind of just pick him apart by being a smart fighter. And that's what makes Gane so great. He doesn't have to put you away in one round. He doesn't have that kind of aura, but he has that he has a special aura about him because, as you said, when he was in TKO, like his first ever professional mixed martial arts fight, he won the TKO heavyweight title. Like you don't really see that often in this sport.
Yeah, there you go. There's how it is for heavyweights, you know what I mean, and especially in Canada, you know, where there's very lack thereof. So yeah, you get your first fight, not even Canadian either. You brought in from France, right? So, but I mean, it's warranted. You know what I mean? The guy's good.
Would you say he is next in line after this Francis Ngannou Derek Lewis fight to fight for the title, or would you like to see him maybe fight, say, like a Stipe Miocic for a number one contenders fight?
I'd like to see him, like a Stipe, somebody like that, along, you know, that's up in that upper echelon. Maybe what's his name? Blades.
Yeah, Curtis Blades. Yeah.
Like something like that would be kind of cool. Just he's only what's he like 9-0, 10-0?
Yeah, that win against Volkov makes him 9-0.
So
which is crazy.
He's still very, very young in his. I mean, I know he's had a lot of kickboxing, you know, experience beforehand, but like, yeah, only 9 fights, man. It took me like 10 pro fights to get even comfortable in the cage. So, I think another win or another fight and another win over a big name is, I think, in the cards.
Yeah, I would like to see him fight, you know, probably Stipe makes the most sense. I don't see anyone else really kind of in that contention. And if you want to put Stipe in the mix, like, I mean, he's arguably the greatest heavyweight champion that the UFC's ever seen. And, you know, if you don't want to throw him right away in a rematch or a trilogy with Ngannou, give him Ciryl Gane. And then, I mean, it makes it interesting where, you know, down the line, say Gane wins. Obviously, if Ngannou gets by Derek Lewis, you have a fight down the line that you could probably do in France come 2022, where both have such a connection with France, and the UFC wants to have events in that market. That with now MMA legal in the country of France, like it got the champion who, you know, was saved by becoming you know, a refugee out in France, and then Gane, who is a Frenchman. So.
And they were training partners at one point.
Yeah, that's storyline as well. They were former training partners. So, you know, and the UFC loves those storylines to help sell the fight as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how tight they were, but I'm sure if it was for UFC gold and, you know, a lot of money on the line, I'm sure they would fight each other.
I think for sure the biggest payday for that, you know, Gane's probably going to get right now in the UFC for that title. And just the intrigue, and if they were to do it in France, I don't know if they would. Hopefully they would, just because of the connections. But why not? What a way! That'd be the perfect way to make your debut in France.
Yeah, for sure.
But this was an interesting card, Josh. First of all, what did you think of the very early start time?
I didn't realize. I thought prelim started at 4. I misread it. So then I was actually sparring at 1. So I missed all the prelims. I got home and main card was starting. I was like, oh, okay, well, guess I'm just watching the main card. But I mean, I don't mind that, you know, to be honest. It sucks that I kind of missed half the fights, but yeah, it was it's different, you know, especially being on the Eastern time, you know what I mean? A lot of times we have to stay up super late to finish the fights, and we're done at like 1 a.m. and then you're done, you know what I mean? So I like having kind of the fights early, and you can go for dinner or do stuff afterwards or whatever, you know, kind of like that sometimes too. It's
the East Coast guys kind of getting to experience what the West Coast audience gets to experience most of the time when those pay-per-view cards end, and it's, you know, only, you know, sometimes if you're lucky, just around 10 o'clock West Coast time. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it affects anyone really having the fight, I guess, at what was it, 10 a.m. West Coast time out in there in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like that's maybe a little different from what you're used to, but I wasn't the biggest person against it. I was fine with it, like you. I thought it was kind of nice. Get these cards out of, especially where, you know, the UFC kind of wants to. I don't want to say they didn't really care about this card, and not to disrespect anyone that fought on the card, but they're heading into a holiday weekend in the States, and then you're going the real push for this McGregor-Poirier 3 fight. So, and I mean, they were selling that hard. Every commercial break they came back for, the trilogy, it's coming up. So they're getting on that. But This fight as well had another interesting heavyweight fight, Josh. The Canadian Tanner Boser fought Ovince St. Preux. A little bit of controversy, I guess, even though upon looking on it, I don't think there is, especially how Boser posted a picture of it. I guess the setup to the finish was Boser, I guess, had his hand on the fence and Herzog slapped the hand away, who was Jason Herzog was a referee. And I guess that helped OSP like kind of lose his positioning and let Boser get up and then led towards the finishing sequence. But if you saw the picture that Boser posted, he kind of just had a fist out and was able to push off with it, which is allowed. You're allowed to push off the fence, not grab. So I don't see much controversy with it, but I mean that's smart if you want to use the fence that way.
Yeah, I mean instinctually you want to grab a fence just because that's just the way your mind reacts to it. But yeah, I mean I don't see enough evidence for any overruling, to be honest. I think it'll just stay as it is, and yeah, I mean, happy for Boser. Nice to see the Canadian fellow doing well. But yeah, watching that fight, man, like it looks like that in the first round anyway. It looked like OSP didn't even want to be there. You know what I mean? It just looked, he just barely no. It's first round, so there doesn't have to be a sense of urgency. You're just kind of getting the feel for your opponent, finding your range and whatnot. But there just wasn't. There was lack of spark there. It seemed he came out in the second and got the takedown. But even still, after that, it was just kind of like, yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I just I didn't think he looked good, but good on Boser for sure.
It's great on Boser. He was able to dictate the pace, and for a guy that didn't even get to have a training camp because he was still stuck in quarantine from fighting just 3 weeks ago. So he was just coming off a camp that he'd been in for January, trying to get to whoever he ended up fighting, which was Latifi, which he lost a controversial split decision a couple weeks ago. But, he looked great. But that's just OSP's style, really. He comes out looking so lethargic. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's him trying to figure out his opponent, but you got to be a little bit more active than throwing 6 significant strikes in a round, especially if you're moving up to heavyweight, because these heavyweights with 1 significant strike can just end your night.
Yeah, I mean, I like the sense of calmness for sure. I mean, that's important, and to know when to expend your energy, especially as a heavyweight. But yeah, it was too lack thereof at any real sense of aggression or sense of really trying to hurt your opponent. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was kind of disappointing, but whatever.
Yeah, well, all in all, it was good to see the lone Canadian Tanner Boser get a win. Snapping a 3-fight losing streak, and he's had some, rough outings and a decision that he probably should have won against Latifi, not go his way, but he's able to not need the judges, and the way MMA judging has been this year, that's always for the best. Definitely don't need the judges, but gets a big win, and now wants to come back within a couple months and get himself a training camp in and whatnot. But yeah, that was the heavyweight bout, and then the other, I guess, interesting fight was your boy Andre Fili. He looked fantastic in that fight that he had there against Daniel Pineda, and was really picking him apart. Nearly could have, I believe, finished him in the first round, but unfortunately Fili got the finger in the eye, and Pineda wanted to continue, even though I don't know how you could say, I can see when you're talking like this. Like, I know what you're trying to get the fight still going, but very unfortunate, because that's to me the best Andre's looked in a long time. But there's got to be something done, and someone has to really be working on these gloves, because it seems like every month we have a situation where a fight ends in a no contest due to an accidental eye poke.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was so pumped to watch this. Obviously, I remember when I was down there training, he was trying to get fights, and then he was supposed to fight Pineda, and something happened, and it ended up being canceled or whatnot. But I was glad to see the fight get rebooked or rescheduled. Because I knew that was a good matchup for him. Because Pineda's a guy that's super tough, super durable. Striking's good, but he does leave himself open for a lot of mistakes. He takes a lot of risks in the striking, and a technical striker can really capitalize on that. And that's what Fili did, especially to having his height and reach advantage. And yeah, man, he looked great. He was picking him apart. He landed some beautiful combination, finished with the head kick, and Pineda took it like a champ, and continued on. And then, yeah, the eye poke, man, it it just sucks, as like you're fighting, you know what I mean? And I in the replay, he did poke him right in the eye for sure, but like he was just trying to create space. He was just in the scuffle and in the midst of it, and went right in his eye. And then, I mean, I think they should have let the time, in my opinion, the time run out, because he had up to 5 minutes, and the doctor called it at like 2 minutes in or something like that. So what's the point of doing the 5 minute? Once the 5 minute was up, then I understand you got to make a decision.
I don't think with eye pokes you get a 5 minute thing. I only think
the 5 minutes was in the side though.
I don't think they were supposed to even do that. I think 5 minutes is really only for low blows. You have up to 5 minutes if you can continue or not. But
what's the difference?
This is just how I think it is. I don't think, which is weird, because in the bare knuckle show, they were saying there was the Joe Riggs fight. He got poked in the eye, and they said he has up to 5 minutes. So I don't know what the difference is in bare knuckle boxing or boxing, why MMA wouldn't have a 5 minute countdown for that, because your vision can come back within 5 minutes if it's not that bad of a poke or anything like that. But it was weird, because that is in the rules right now, where it's really up to the referee and the doctor if a fighter can continue. And I know a fighter's going to do whatever he can to kind of extend it, because they don't want to end up fighting a no contest with an eye poke or anything like that. But yeah, like that timer should have never been used or thrown up, because according to the rules of mixed martial arts, only 5 minutes is awarded for a low blow.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I figured it goes the same for that, which I think it should. But it's it's unfortunate, man. Man, these eye pokes, I mean, they're gonna happen no matter what. It's a fight, and it's not a closed glove like boxing. So we've seen, like we talked before, there's the UFC gloves is very, very straight. I mean, the Bellator gloves does where's my camera? Does have that bend in it like this, so it kind of makes your hand not do that natural curvature, so it doesn't have that outspoken or outpointed fingers. So that is a little bit better, but you can still obviously do eye pokes. There's still eye pokes in Bellator. So I don't know. They talked about that Matt Hume glove, with the all covered, but I think there's still going to be somewhat pokes in there. I don't really think there's a way around it totally, to be honest.
I don't think there's a way around it totally, but you'd think the UFC would look at their gloves, because this is something that seems to happen consistently enough in the UFC where you'd want to try to avoid that. Like, I saw someone post a picture of the Venom glove on the Venom website, and it's kind of a little bit more curved, kind of like what the Bellator glove is. And Venom's now like one of the official apparel sponsors of the UFC. Why wouldn't they want to implement that glove, bring it in, just slap a UFC sticker on it, and start using that? Like,
you would think, right?
If your glove continues to just have these incidental eye pokes, and every other month or every 3 months or whatever, like, do something to change your glove. Like, what you're doing isn't working.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're stubborn in that sense, or they just don't want to try anything like that. I don't know, but it's something that it's a problem, and it's can always be there. I mean, especially if nothing's done about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I thought it was a pretty solid card for a very early UFC. We got ourselves a real contender now, probably a fight or two away in Ciryl Gane for the heavyweight title, and filled with some pretty competitive back and forth fights. I know you didn't get to see the early prelims as you were out there sparring and stuff like that, but Jeremiah Wells was a guy that had a great UFC debut, great knockout and stuff like that. Same with Kennedy and Njoku, who some of these features though on these fighters getting really depressing. Like, Kenny Njoku is a guy that's living with his mom because his mom has ALS, and his mom was in the feature, and I was so, like, moved and touched. I was like, thank goodness he got a bonus for that, but like for his performance. But man, like, how do you not root for a guy like Kennedy Njoku when you see his mom like literally just struggling? It was very emotional.
That's like, that's what they want to do, right? I mean, that's why they're showing you that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not against it. I think it's good that they do that kind of stuff, because it shows more than just the athlete, just the fighter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it shows the person too. And, that's the most important part of it. you know, I mean, the fighting's great and whatnot, but you want to get behind a good person, not just a good fighter as well, right? So yeah, that kind of stuff's important. So it's, I mean, I didn't get to see it, but yeah, I mean, when you have stories like that, you know, you've seen many where you know, people lose their, you know, family members or loved ones or whatever, and they got to fight or dealing with something like that. So it's good to shine a light on it.
I think that feature, we only got to see a little bit of it because they were really up against it because most of the fights had gone decisions, and they're obviously trying to get, you know, the one set of prelims done before the main card. But remember the Ice Bucket Challenge, which was to raise money for ALS? I thought this was the most effective use of anything I've ever seen for what ALS does. And it's a shame that that kind of a challenge or social media thing isn't around because, you know, you can see someone in the early onset stages, but this is someone towards his mother, like towards the end of it, and what really happens to you. And it really sheds a light on it that there's really nothing you can do up against this except just keep raising money and hopefully find a cure for it.
Yeah. Did you not know like how it affects you?
I know how it affects you, but to see someone literally can't even move their head because
that's like a nightmare, man. Like imagine, like it's like reverse Alzheimer's almost, you know what I mean? It's like your mind's there. You can, everything, your cognitive abilities are there, but your body just shuts down and you're just kind of stuck in this vessel.
Yeah. He can't breathe. His mother was stuck to like an oxygen tank type thing and can't even speak. Like, I was just so moved about it, and I was happy to see him get Kennedy Njoku get a big victory, another come from behind win for him. But yeah, like hopefully, I wish we could have more of that social media awareness on ALS now, especially after seeing a feature like that, because that was just so moving and touching, and great work by the UFC production crew for that, because I think that really changed a lot of perspective for me on what ALS is.
Yeah, man. I mean, shit, that's a nasty disease, dude, and that's scary shit. So anybody dealing with that, I feel for them, and I hope that shit. I hope they do find some way to fix that, or at least, you know, have some type of medication or overall cure for it, because that's a bad one.
And my biggest thing after seeing that, hug your parents, because that could be that could be your mom or dad or important family members. So. Very, very touching feature. But let's move over to Bellator, Josh, on Friday. And before we even get to the card, big announcement from Bellator that October 23rd, Fedor back, Bellator's debut in Russia. I think this is a great move. Like, why not? Like, get Fedor out there, go to Russia, and like Fedor still has that aura on him, and Bellator needs those kind of attractions.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing a retirement tour. You know, I think he has one or two more. I think he said 2 more fights after the Rampage one, I believe. I mean, it'd be hard to top it fighting in Russia, especially if you got a win in Russia, you know what I mean, and finish your career there in your homeland. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, going to Russia, Bellator, I think that's huge for them. They have so many Russians on the card and such a big fan base with all the Russians. So it's a no-brainer. And it's nice to see them going back to some like kind of foreign exotic places, you know what I mean? So it's awesome. And to have Fedor on, man, a legend, the best ever.
Yeah, one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. It is interesting too, because Bellator before their card on Friday, they did send out a tweet like, where would you like to see us in 2021 or 2022? And I think they're now starting to look at a lot more international, because I think the pandemic taught a lot of people you can't take traveling for granted. So go out there and see, hopefully they come back to Canada or something, or wherever else they may. Brazil.
That'd be cool. Like Brazil, something like that. Going back to somewhere, maybe even they could go to a Sweden or something like that, or kind of just something different, you know what I mean? Or back to Ireland. They love going to Ireland too.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's nice to see that they're having that mindset, thinking we just can't. Obviously, the States is your main number one, but if you want to travel international, there's big MMA fans across the world now. I think the sport's at that stage, and go explore. And now with this Fedor fight, Josh, it seems like we don't have an opponent yet, but there's these rumors that it's going to be Maybe it's Alistair Overeem, maybe it's Junior Dos Santos, Anderson Silva, who's been thrown in the mix, and apparently Fabricio Verdum's thrown his name in the mix, and that he may get clearance from PFL to go do the fight. Really? Out of those names, who do you want to see Fedor fight in this card in Russia? Because it has to be a name of that level.
Yeah, and it definitely has to be somebody like that is on the end of almost finishing the 18th hole. You know what I mean? Like definitely in the back nine and on the past their prime-ish, if you want to say that. Reem is signed with Glory, right? So I don't know how that would work. If you would be able to. The Verdum one is interesting just because it would be, he beat him, and he was the one that kind of the first loss that really, he was undefeated for like 10 years. You know what I mean? So that's a cool rematch for sure. The Anderson Silva one's intriguing just because I know they're, Anderson is a huge middleweight, has fought a light heavyweight, and Fedor, could have definitely fought a light heavyweight in his time. So he definitely would be the bigger guy, but not like crazily overly big. So that would be an interesting one, man. I would like to see that one just to see how it would kind of go about. And I'd be all for that one.
I think for me, I would love Anderson just because Fedor's when Fedor was on that run, closing out Pride and then those 2 big wins in Affliction, that was like during the real ascendance of Anderson Silva, where there was the debate of who's the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. And sure, they're now past their prime and whatnot, but I'd like to still see that. The younger fan in me would like to see it. I think Anderson would like a fight like that. It's something to get up for. I know he may do more boxing or whatnot, but, just for a one-off, sure, I would like to see it. Verdum would be cool, but I don't know. I don't think it has that much sizzle. Like, we've seen it. And I think, obviously, you're trying to make the most exciting fight. To me, I think Junior Dos Santos would be interesting because, one, you can get a fight out of him with Fedor, and, he's a name, former UFC champion, but there's a little bit of longevity Bellator can get out of Junior Dos Santos, which if, say, he beats Fedor, you just don't want this guy to go away like if Anderson Silva were to. Because, Anderson's not signing with Bellator.
Yeah.
You get Junior Dos Santos to stick around in your heavyweight division.
Yeah. But do they want that? I don't know. Are they looking for
I think that heavyweight division could use a little bit more names in Bellator.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. That's a possibility. Yeah, you're right there. I don't know, man. There's a lot of options, and they'll definitely try and utilize a name that's not too youthful. That and too in their prime, but somebody that's recognizable and will still give Fedor a good test, right? So. Anytime you talk about Fedor still fighting, man, it's awesome.
It's crazy he still has that aura after having some bad knockout losses in Bellator, and he still has this aura that he's still the undefeated guy that's just making his debut stateside.
Well, I like that because a lot of these people they just watch the UFC only. You know what I mean? So they didn't watch Pride ever. So they in their mind it's their heavyweight champ. Best ever is Kane, and Kane's awesome, don't get me wrong, but I think they missed out on his reign, man, and to go undefeated like that and beat guys like Krokop and Nogueira and freaking
Randleman
and Hongman Choi, the giant, you know what I mean? He's gone through the gauntlet, dude, and he's fought so many killers, and he's the man.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just excited for it. I think it's the right move. And I love the idea of Russia because you said Bellator, they've picked up so many Russians. Like I could see Pettis and that Magomed Karamov fight are happening there too. So they're going to stack it a lot with Russians. And
you got to beat Styles first, but that's a good one.
I mean, also, I think what's interesting is these bigger Bellator cards. So Fedor, we know, is fighting October 23rd. That's a Saturday. We know the Pitbull and McKee fight. That's a Saturday. So these big Bellator cards are no longer aren't Fridays; they're Saturdays. I don't know if it's because there's really no Showtime boxing card to fill the void, but I do like that you're moving them on Saturday. There is competition in July. I'm sure there'll be competition come October. There isn't a UFC card officially announced yet for then, but I like that. You know what? Go out there and try to win some eyeballs on a better platform you are on in Showtime than you had been in the past.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And Showtime's a much bigger platform, especially for the sports fans. So, it's a no-brainer, I think. And like I said, with the amount of Russian talent that's not only taken over Bellator, but just the sport in general, you could stack that card up, man. Yeah,
for sure. I really hope. I think it'll be Dos Santos fighting Fedor, but I'd love if it was Anderson Silva. That would be a lot of eyeballs on Bellator for that event, and then there's maybe a gateway to build some new fan bases, and right there, just with just the name Anderson Silva too alone. So, but Bellator, as we said, they had their card Friday, interim heavyweight title on the line. Tim Johnson took on Valentin Moldavsky. I was actually impressed for heavyweights. They both had cardio,
gas tank,
good gas tanks, and a pretty good competitive fight. I had Moldavsky down the first 2 rounds, but was able to pick it up and land just the better shots and just turn the tide and they would able to come away by becoming the first ever interim Bellator heavyweight champion.
Yeah, I didn't get to see like the fight fully. I just kind of was flipping back and forth and whatnot. But yeah, for usually not usually, but a lot of times you see in heavyweight fights, if they're not clipped and not taken out in the first round, it tends to get slow, and especially in a 5-rounder, it can get kind of sloppy and just kind of like ugly to watch. But yeah, they both surprisingly showed some good cardio, man, which is nice to see, especially for heavyweights. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see Moldavsky now with Fedor. Fedor.
I mean, he did beat Fedor, so I guess he knows himself Fedor.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know when that's ever going to happen because he's still. I mean, if he loses next fight, I'm sure he'll just go back up. But he could. He's still got the light heavyweight tournament to go.
Yeah, so we don't know. Obviously, Moldavsky will fight, as you said, Ryan Bader, TBA to unify the titles. I don't know, it's also kind of cool that with Fedor's fight announcement and 2 of his proteges are now now a interim heavyweight champion, and as well the current light heavyweight champion. So that's kind of cool as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then you could even probably. Well, I guess it just kind of depends when timing, whatnot, but get them on the card as well with him could be a possibility too. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, definitely. I see the light heavyweight title potentially being there as a type spot because, as we just said, we don't know if Bader beats Corey Anderson, he's in the finals of this Grand Prix at heavyweight. So we'll have to wait and see. Bellator also had Liz Carmouche look fantastic. The best I've seen Liz fight in a long time. I believe getting her first, finish since 2015, 16 or something like that along those lines, and really put it on Kana Watanabe and puts herself in line for the women's flyweight title in Bellator. And that title will be defended in the next Bellator show in July. So, perfect time to get a performance like that.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, there's no doubt, I think now for sure that she's probably the number 1 contender. So she'll probably get the winner.
Definitely will. I don't know. This Bellator card was one that really didn't, jump out at me. It had some moments on it. Was a little disappointed we didn't have Morrow on the card, as he was away with for the Tank Davis fight this past weekend for Showtime Boxing. But no Morrow, a little bit of a downer for me. Yeah. I love Morrow. He needs to bring it. But I really think this PFL Bellator going head to head hurt Bellator in attraction for some eyeballs on this fight, because I thought the PFL card was the one. If you had to pick one to watch, I thought that was the one to watch. You had Kayla Harrison, you had Anthony Pettis on there. I guess we can transition over to that. Kayla Harrison did what she's supposed to do and just ran through Cindy Dambois and is now the number 2 seed because she didn't get the finish within she got the finish of the first round with like seconds left in the round instead of like with a minute and a half or so, she would have been the number 1 seed. But she's still the favorite in my eyes.
Yeah, man, this tournament was built for her. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's crazy to me that, I mean, all the power to her. And if somebody was making a tournament for me, you know, if I was a girl at 155 and they want to do this, I'd be like, yeah, you know, sign me up. But like they would do a women's 155, but not a bantamweight men's. Let's say like bantamweights or, you know, whatever, but there is a much bigger talent pool of fighters at men's bantamweight than there are at women's lightweight. You know what I mean? Even if they did a women's bantamweight or a strawweight, there would be a much bigger talent pool to pull from. So it's just weird that they picked lightweight, you know what I mean, to do that.
I think they picked lightweight for one reason. Kayla didn't want to cut the weight, and they want to market her. So it's women's 155. And I mean, obviously it's, hey, were you a women's 145er? You want to just go up 10 pounds? You don't have to cut the weight. So sure. And they signed, as we've talked before, they've signed Claressa Shields, who's fighting at that weight class, 155. So their goal eventually is to have Kayla versus Claressa Shields. But I mean, after seeing someone have one MMA fight versus now 8 or 9 that Kayla's had, that'd be worse than what happened to Cindy Dambois.
Yeah, and not to mention a lifetime judo practitioner versus lifetime boxer in MMA. Majority of the time, the ground practitioner usually gets the win. You know, without years and years of training, both in mixed martial arts.
Kayla is, though, becoming an interesting figure because, like, she totally dominated the fight, but she looks so disappointed in herself that it's like not done a certain way or didn't get the finish, you know, with 2 minutes left in the first round or something like that. Like, she puts a lot of pressure on herself, and takes herself very seriously, which I do like. Sometimes some fighters don't take themselves seriously enough, or maybe too seriously, which I think Kayla does take herself too seriously, but at a level that's respected, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I'm fine with that. And, you know, we'll see her August 27th, which I believe is the end of the playoffs for the finals will be set after that.
But dude, the PFL has been the upset of the that's been the theme of this whole season, which is crazy. You know, their biggest PFL as far as a promotion, you know, their big signee is not in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, Anthony Pettis loses both his fights and he's gone, man, it's crazy. You know what I mean? Going into it, nobody would have thought that for sure.
Oh, absolutely not. And I guess that brings me to my next question. So you have Pettis, who is a big signee. He's not in the playoffs. Rory McDonald is a big signee. He's in the playoffs. You're defending champion at 145 2 times in a row, not in the playoffs.
And same with Schultz.
Yeah. No Schultz, who's also a 2-time lightweight champion. But, you know, for the signee aspect, like, you're expecting your big ex-UFC guys to just automatically go in there. Is that good for the PFL that this signee in Pettis' case doesn't get in? And shows that, you know, our talent that we've signed as well, that have kind of been with us a couple of seasons or so, have, you know, just as much skill? Or is that maybe that you're giving too much money to someone that maybe passed his prime?
See, I wouldn't say they're past their prime. I think
maybe investing too much in them is, I guess, the better word.
Maybe.
I don't think Pettis is past his prime. I shouldn't say that. He just fought slower in these fights than I anticipated him to.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think it is good for the promotion too, though, as well. I know they want to utilize the big name because that's what's going to bring eyeballs to watch the show. But if people did watch it, now they're going to be like, who is this guy that I've never heard of that just beat Anthony Pettis? You know what I mean? What was his name again? I can't even remember his name.
The guy that beat Pettis was Malvid Kabulaev.
Kabulaev? They beat Pettis? No.
Yeah.
That's who beat Lance.
Oh, my apologies. The guy that beat our boy Anthony Pettis where's lightweight? I don't know why they have this all over the place. Who was Hausman Fio?
Was it Fio?
Manfio.
Manfio, yeah. Okay, I knew it was something like that. I wouldn't have never got it, but yeah, I have never previously heard of him really going into it. So I heard of Clay Collard, obviously, and still a big upset there for him to beat him. And then now another one. I know people were like robbery, and I was like, I could see somebody maybe giving the first 2 rounds to Pettis and then the third to the other guy and giving him a 10-8 and it could be a draw. I could definitely see that. But I would not say it was a robbery. I think by the commentating, it made it sound like Pettis was running away with that the first 2 rounds. And I think it was a lot closer than they were kind of talking about.
Yeah, I thought Manfio did win the fight. I thought he won the second. He won the third in my eyes. I thought
that's what I thought too.
Yeah, I thought he definitely did enough to win. And I thought, the judges in New Jersey have had a rough go for this regular season in the PFL. Just ask Rory McDonald what he thinks about that. So maybe it's, great that they actually get one right and they can leave with their head held up high as now the PFL transitions from New Jersey to Florida. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's more of a good thing in a way because you don't want to be a promotion that just relies on X. UFC.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Because coming from watching a lot of pro wrestling, you don't want to be that promotion's like, look, we just got all these guys that, don't longer work for WWE or something like that. You want to build your own talent up that you can, bring them back and have them create a name and a legacy in your promotion. I think that's a good thing. And it makes this lightweight tournament, to me, 10 times more interesting because if you had maybe a Pettis or someone of that caliber in there and he was, head kicking people off like Anthony was in WEC, well, you'd be in the same boat as the women's lightweight. Like you're just having the tournament for the sake of having the tournament where you know who's going to win this. Now it's a free for all. Like you don't know who's going to come away with $1 million at men's 155.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I think overall it's probably a good thing from promotion because it's like you said, we're not bringing ex-UFC fighters over here to beat up nobodies and just use their name to make you watch. It's you guys are winning or aren't winning these big names. So there's huge upsets. There's guys that you've never heard of that are doing very, very well and now breakout stars. So that's cool, man. That's good. I definitely wouldn't have called it at the start of the season. This kind of being happening, but that's what's kind of cool about this sport, man, because it's so easy to lose in this one. And but they definitely stacked the cast of this season pretty well.
Definitely at 155 for sure, because I thought they gave Pettis the Collard fight. I thought it was a great stylistic matchup, and I thought Collard did obviously very well. It was close that he nearly blew it and got finished in the third round, but he was able to hold on, get the decision. And then Manfio was able to actually have it work out because he wasn't even supposed to fight Pettis. Like if Pettis doesn't get sick and actually not fight 2 weeks prior, like maybe he gets in. So there's that as well too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it sucked for Lance too, because Lance was supposed to fight another guy, I believe, on the same card, and it got pushed to this one, and the opponent changed. I believe so. And
Lance was supposed to fight a guy that was a replacement. In Jesse Stim.
Yes, that's right. And I think that would have been a much favorable matchup for Lance than this one. So he could have potentially earned himself definitely a win, and maybe a spot in the playoffs. So that shakes things up, man, which is crazy. But yeah, in the Lance fight, I knew he had to finish in the first 2 rounds, so I could understand him wanting to be on the feet more. But I thought he would look to early in the fight anyway, just to try to mix up the wrestling, just to get him thinking about get his hands down a bit, get him worried about the takedown, and then try to open up a little bit. But he tried to strictly be on the feet, but just didn't pay off for him.
And you're fighting a guy that's, in Kabulaev, who's can match you at the wrestling, has really good striking, and is a real tough kind of opponent where you need a finish within 2 rounds. Not someone no disrespect to Jesse Sturm or anything like that, but the possibilities are greater for Lance to get a finish in the first 2 rounds against that guy than Kabulaev, who's been to this PFL before. He's been in the playoffs as well, so he knows the whole how this works.
And he didn't lose either. He got an injury, I believe, right? It was so.
Yeah. All in all,
still undefeated, I think, right?
He has one draw as well too in his record. So, but yeah, all in all, I think it makes it a lot interesting. I'm excited to see, especially featherweight too, because as I said, there's no Lance. We're gonna have a new champion at 145.
Well, all those matches that Brandon Lachlan, Bubba Jenkins, that Movid, and then the other
Chris Wade.
Chris Wade. That's 4 really good featherweights that you match them up any which way, and it's a good fights.
Absolutely, and I think when you look at who's in there, Lockney's a huge acquisition for the PFL, especially as we talked before. Yeah. UFC passed on him because the guy wanted to wrestle, look for a takedown with 10 seconds left in a fight on the Contender Series, and he's been a smashing success. Chris Wade's a guy you've been building up for a long time. Now at 155 normally, but now he's at 145, makes the playoffs, has a great knockout in his last fight. Kabulayev's a guy you've been building up, and Bubba Jenkins, the former Bellator champion, but we haven't really seen him at this stakes, and it's so close. They had to do a coin toss to determine the 3 and 4 seeds between Jenkins and Kabulayev.
Yeah. I was wondering how they would do that because I seen what fight was it? If they ended up going a certain way, they all would have had 3 points. And then how does it go after that?
I think it goes on that performance thing that they have. I think that's one of the tiebreakers. And then I guess if it really came down to everything, if you were in the playoffs, it would be a coin toss and stuff like that.
A coin toss, really? Yeah.
That's how it came down, which I kind of like. If for seeding wise, it's like
seeding wise, if you're already in seeding, that's whatever. That's fine because it just But if you're say there's 4 spots and there's 6 guys and they all have the same amount of points. I
think that's where you're going on that performance thing or whatever else it may be. Through the promoter's eyes, how you look, do you get the benefits?
Yeah.
I don't know in that aspect, but yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid PFL card. Just to show how good this format is. Jamel Jones is a replacement, and he comes in, gets a first round finish. And he's now in the playoffs because he had everything work out in his favor. Those 6 points are enough to hold up. And there's a guy that's, really was just supposed to fill in and eat up some space on the card. Yeah. And now he's in the playoffs with a chance at $1 million.
Yeah. 2 fights away. You know what I mean? Crazy. I dig it, man. I've been saying that. I like what they're doing. It's different. It is a seasonal approach, like a regular, NBA, NHL type approach as far as what you can do in MMA. You know what I mean? You can't be fighting 82 times a year, obviously. So to do this,
that's the dream for an MMA fighter.
That's not happening. So 4 or 5 times a year. Is it 4 or is it still 5? It used to be 5, but I think it's now.
It used to be 5 because you used to fight twice in a night, but they removed that.
Yeah. So now it's 4 fights, but still 4 fights a year. That's a busy year. That's a good year. A lot of chance to make a lot of money, and obviously at the end win the $1 million. So huge, man. That's awesome.
I know they space it out well too, where we had it started end of April, and then you come back in now June, wrap up, you get to the playoffs, and now you have all of July off to train for the playoffs. You have now 1 shot to make your shot into the finals with you win your fight, you're in, and then. We don't even officially know when the finals are. I assume, hopefully, they're going back with the New Year's Eve type gimmick, which seems to have worked for them in the past. Then you have another 3 months off, and with a shot at $1 million on the line.
Yeah, man, that's cool. I dig it.
I think it just shows, a format that seemed dumb on paper to a lot of MMA fans has really worked, especially what we've talked about, featherweight and lightweight. If you looked at all that roster, I don't think a lot of the people you'd see in there in the playoffs would be there. It's working out for them, and I wish them nothing but the best. It'd be nice to see them maybe next year pick a different weight class, as we said. Just bantamweight alone has so many people out there. just give us a 135 tournament.
I know. I don't get. I remember when I was a free agent. I remember I'm like, is PFL doing a bantamweight? Because I love to get in on that, but they came back out and said, I'm pretty sure that they said they're not doing 2021, but they might do 2022. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe they'll do bantamweights next year.
It seems like maybe as we head towards 2022, that's really the year of the bantamweight, especially if Bellator does a Grand Prix, PFL does a season. It's no better time to be a 135er outside of the UFC.
That, if Bellator does do one, and then if PFL did, then you have the Risen Grand Prix. They have the Ultimate Fighter bantamweight. They're just shit ton of bantamweights running around there, man.
Shit ton of little people just running around there with the ability to just throw everyone over their head. But yeah, I think it's great. The only thing I hate is that when they come back for the first round of the playoffs, it's another Bellator head-to-head thing. And I don't like that they're separating the audience, where I think PFL's killer on Thursday. I just like them on Thursday. That's a night that works for them. They stand out alone. Bellator's on Friday, and with these bigger cards on Saturday. Don't try to divide the audience. You kind of want to keep everyone watching your product on a separate night.
I like it better. I think MMA fans like it better just because there's more options and it's different nights, right? So it's not, I don't have to pick and miss one. I understand them as a business point, trying to beat out the other ones and try to gain that momentum and popularity to be the biggest promotion ever if they can. Right? That's everybody's goal, I think, to be the best. So, but yeah, as far as a viewer, I like it better. Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, that's perfect.
I think as well too, it's just so tough, especially with other sports properties that you're going up against. Like that Friday, the NHL had a Game 7 with the winner going to a Stanley Cup on, and the NBA had like Game 2 of a conference final game. Like luckily for the MMA promotions, they may have got more viewers because the NBA game was such a blowout. But you can't risk that all in all, where you're going to get people to flip. Like 9 times out of 10, the sports fan you want, they're picking NBA or NHL over Bellator or PFL. And if you're now those two promotions going like this, you've just shrinkled up your audience that much more.
Yeah, you're now cut it in half again, right? So it's tough, right? I mean, you're always going to have your MMA fans watch. You're going to hope that the other sports fans will tune in. But yeah, if now you have 2 promotions the same night, your MMA fans are now probably cut in half. And if you're going against something like a NBA, like you said, then you're not getting those people kind of trickling in.
And a Game 7 with a team from the New York market in it too.
Yeah, right.
See, shame about those Islanders though. They really upset.
I know.
That they didn't win.
Oh well, Tampa and Montreal, that makes for a good one. Definitely. I mean, you could see Tampa because they won last year, obviously the favorites, but definitely didn't see Montreal being the other side jumping in there.
I mean, Canada's team now, Josh.
Canadians.
That is now the storyline. Well, they are the team of Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Leaf fan nor a Canadians fan, but the Leafs are just.
Okay, well, the Leafs they're a tragedy among themselves. They can't do anything right.
Yeah, poor Leafs, man.
Leaf fans are watching this Habs team like Expo fans are watching the Jays in the the early 90s. Like that should have been us, but unfortunately, you were not that team. You had some bad break. The Leafs, you just haven't done anything right in anyone in this show's lifetime.
That's. Yeah, very true. Very true, man.
Like they haven't won a playoff. They haven't done the first round since I was in grade 8. So that just tells you everything to know about the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I mean, the Canadians, they've at least swept up some momentum, and they've got at least who loves this? Sportsnet. They love that the Habs are playing for a freaking Stanley Cup. Like that was a rough start for Rogers with getting this NHL deal.
Yeah, there's 2 reasons why I want the Canadians to win. Tampa won last year, so it's not like it's not like they haven't made the playoffs ever, and you know what I mean. And Carey Price, man, he just best goalie playing today for sure in my mind, and so I like to see him win the cup.
He's playing out of his mind, and if he wins the cup, he really throws himself. Obviously, he's going to probably put himself towards a Hockey Hall of Fame career. But this year, he probably puts himself in serious running to win a Lou Marsh Award for Canadian Athlete of the Year. And I know there's still an Olympics to go,
Yeah.
with that. But like the way Price is playing, he's like 2014 Canada goalie at the Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a Summer Olympics, so it's not going to be.
No, but I'm saying when Carey Price was the goalie for Canada at the Olympics, that's the level he's at right now.
I hear you. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's playing unreal, man. And when you run into a hot goalie in the playoffs, that's a game changer if you can carry that on to the finals.
Plus some kids that can score.
Yeah, man. Caulfield and
Suzuki.
Yeah, some big pickups. You know, these younger, smaller statured guys that they're ripping it though, man.
Exactly. And you know what? I guess the last thing on this before we wrap up the show, this is the most likable team to go to a finals I've seen in a long time. Like you can't hate on them other than like if you were a Leaf fan and you got upset by this team or they're your arch rival. But like, how can you hate this Montreal team? They just work hard, play hard, and win.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I have so many people are surrounded by me are Leaf fans, so they're just riddled in bitterness.
They've been in bitterness for a long time. You need to get into that bitterness coma.
I know, but it's even it wouldn't even be as bad if it wasn't the Canadians. You know what I mean? It would if it was like even if it was like Vancouver. You know, it wouldn't be as bad.
If this was the Leafs, you'd never hear the end of it.
Never hear the end of it, though.
Never. You'd never hear the end of it, even if they lost in Game 7 or anything. It'd be heartbreaking, but they'd be like, "See, we made a final. We've done something right." But
I seen a post and it showed all 6 Canadian teams. Is there 6 still, or is there 7?
7.
7 now, right? Because they brought
Winnipeg back.
It showed this 7. It showed. Last time they went past the first round, or I think it was. Or no, sorry, Stanley Cup. It was Stanley Cup, just appearance, not even a win, just an appearance. And it was like 2003, 2006, 2018, or whatever, 1997, and then 1967.
just Toronto.
Yeah, waved down the ranks. It was just pretty funny, sad but funny.
Well, like since the Habs won the Cup in '93. There's been Vancouver in 94. It was 10 years Calgary in 2004 because that was before the lockout. Then you had the Oilers in 06, the Sens in 07, and then the Canucks in 2011. So it's been 5 Canadian teams since 1993 that have played for a cup to come up short. And the Leafs have this fan base that think that they are the gods. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just holding on to old glory from way back when. And I guess Canadian
old glory before like any of the fans were even born.
Yeah, the original 6.
Like, remember that?
Yeah.
What? I don't know. I mean, even if like for me, I'm a Sabres fan. They were horrible this year, but you don't hear this fan base talk about things or anything. Like they know they're bad. They need to fix it. Like
that's just what a shitty franchise, bro.
Hey, we're robbed in '99. That foot was in the crease from Brett Hull.
Oh yeah, that was. Yeah. You know what? I wasn't even against Sabres. I just didn't like Dominic Hasek, so I was so glad.
Because he beat up the Flyers.
No, just because I didn't like him. But yeah, that also.
How could anyone not like Dominic Hasek?
Just didn't like him, man. Ugh. Flopped around too much for like a fish out of water.
Oh, but he was so good.
And I didn't like his mask either. Ugliest face mask ever.
Oh, sure. I didn't like when he painted the face mask. I thought just leave it blank.
Either way, it's ugly.
Okay. Well, we all can't have a Curtis Joseph or Kelly Rudy on the Sharks type cool mask, but
Rudy was the shit on the Sharks for sure.
Yeah. But all in all, Josh, as we've come to the end, even getting some nice little hockey talk in there before a Canada Day weekend. I mean, what better way to celebrate Canada than talking about our pastime of good old hockey. But have yourself a good Canada Day weekend, Josh. Plug your IG, where I'm sure there'll be many great, more hockey memes or something out there, or whatever you post out there.
I don't know if I've done any hockey ones recently, but
if you find a hockey one, I'm sure it'll be up there quick.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll take a look. But yeah, at Gentleman J Hill, as always.
All right, Josh. Well, have yourself a good Canada Day weekend. We'll be back in our normal time slot next week, and we can kind of look ahead to arguably the biggest fight of 2021, the the third fight, the trilogy fight between Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. So for everyone out there, have yourself a happy Canada Day. I know the following week, this weekend on the Sunday, have a happy 4th of July to our American listeners. And we'll be back on next Tuesday to break down everything happening in the realm of mixed martial arts. Peace out, everyone.